Don't limit your child to your own learning, for he was born in another time. The central purpose of education, learning, and collaboration should be to mediate voluntary evolution. In its current state, it's called Maekers by Mohit Jain. A very powerful initiative is 3. I am Generation Equality, powered by Bochow Superdog. Mohit Jain is the founder and CEO of Maekers.com, a platform designed to help children learn digital technologies relevant to Industry 4.0. आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है.
Thank you very much, Rashi. It's a pleasure to be here.
What is Industry 4.0 and its impact on education? Over to you.
So Industry 4.0 is the next wave of industrialization which will dramatically shape the world we live in tomorrow. And at its roots, there are 3 powerful forces which are at play and which are driving this entire story forward. 1, the whole domain of physical computing. 2nd, genetic engineering. And 3rd is material science. Now, essentially, if these are the areas or domains or technologies which are going to influence our future, the entire education system actually needs a complete and absolute overhaul. There will be changes which will have to be done at the policy-making level, as far as the curriculum design is concerned, as far as learning methodologies are concerned, as far as the role of the teacher or the instructor or the coach or the facilitator is concerned. And finally, on how do you assess and evaluate the acquisition of competencies by the learner. And at the end of the day, you have to figure out mechanisms which will ensure the success of the child in 3 different dimensions. 1 is the economic dimension as a creator of wealth. 2nd is in terms of the character of the child. How sensitive is he to the environment around him? How perceptive is he to the problems which are there around him? And what is his ability to react to these problems or situations? And finally, the sense of agency within a child, where he starts thinking that I am part of a solution, I can do something about this problem, and I can actually create a solution which will work.
Mohit, let's discover the side of the world, Industry 4.0, through a case study. I would request you to help us understand it through an experiment.
So we talked about the whole domain of physical computing, and the physical computing essentially comprises of things which you connect to each other and create the Internet of Things. And once you've created the Internet of Things, then you basically start collecting the data which is generated by these devices and apply intelligence and try and figure out what is all this data meaning and convert that into algorithms which are required for the future. Now, let me give you an example of what do we mean by a digital device. So a digital device is, something which has a sensor, a microprocessor, and a responder. And the best way to understand this would be by having a look at one of the digital devices which our children have built. So, what you see in front of you is essentially a smart light. This smart light has been made by one of our students, and let me explain how this entire thing works. So right now it is bright and you don't see any light over there. The moment I cover the light with my hands, therefore blocking off the light, immediately you see that there is an LED which is glowing inside. So I remove my hands, there's no light. I cover up the ambient light, and now you find that this garden light has kind of come on. The way this entire smart light works is, it has a sensor, it has a microprocessor, it has a responder. And the sensor is an LDR or a light dependent resistor which senses the amount of ambient light which is available in the environment. This information is passed on to the microprocessor, and the microprocessor takes a decision that if it is dark, I should switch on the light. If it is bright, then I should switch off the light, and passes these instructions over to an LED, accordingly switching it on or switching it off. Now, just to give you maybe a closer look at what we're talking about. So this here on top is the LDR. The LED which has been put inside the smart light is something like this. This is actually the microprocessor. It's an Arduino UNO, which essentially processes all the information being relayed to it by the sensor and decides whether the LED should be switched on or switched off. So essentially, if you look at this digital device, there are today more than 40 billion digital devices of this kind all over the world. And this number is going to grow to something in the region of 80 to 90 billion devices in the next 3 to 4 years. Now, a smart light like this obviously can be used on the street lights and therefore can ensure that the pedestrians do not fall into a pothole or stumble on the pavements when it has become dark. And in the morning, if it switches off at the right time, then you save a significant amount of energy, which is electrical energy. And that is how this entire smart light is currently being deployed by the government in terms of covering more than 2,500 kilometers of street lights.
So this is what the initiative is 3 International Women's Day 2021 is all about. I am Generation Equality. Critical pedagogy treats the learner as the co-creator of knowledge.
So one, if you look at yourself as a student, right? Please understand that given this new range of technologies, everybody is at the start line. That this is a game of brains and not brawn. So typically, men have dominated in the area where physical strength and capacity is required. However, in this case, it's all about how smart you are, how curious you are, how creative you are, and how can you think of ingenious solutions and deploy that. And therefore, there is no gender inequality in this entire space. On the other hand, if you look at yourself as a member of a team which is probably coaching children in these areas, right? We are happy to state that all the instructional design people in our team, as well as the coaches and mentors, are 100% women, and therefore that itself is a huge opportunity, for people as they grow up in terms of becoming, coaches or mentors or instructors or instructional designers.
That is why we have invited Mohit Jain, the CEO and the founder of Maekers, to come and show us the importance of education, starting early with innovations and machine learning, because that is the future and that is what is going to power you. Thank you so much.